Welcome viewers to Historical Journeys. The group jumps down through the cold profundities of the Bay of Finland, the easternmost part of the Baltic Ocean. They're setting out toward a wreck. They accept most likely dates from the Second Great War. However, that is not the very thing that they find. All things considered, they go over something completely unforeseen. A commercial vessel sank exactly 4 centuries prior. In any case, what completely astounds the Finnish jumpers is the way that the 400-year-old wooden boat is for the most part flawless. Jumpers investigating the profundities of the Baltic track down a 400-year-old faultlessly saved wreck. But before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. It only takes a second, and you won't miss any of our future videos. Let's get started. Showing up through the chilled waters, the men can plainly see the state of the boat, which is recognized as a flight, in some cases spelt liquid. That was a particular Dutch-fabricated exchanging vessel far-reaching use in the 17th 100 years. These handled the Baltic Ocean when the Netherlands were the prevalent sea brokers in those waters and all over the planet. These flights were obviously totally solid. In any case, there's something different working here too, the idea of the ocean of this profundity in these waters. The truth of the matter is that where this flight lies, even in spite of the fact that it's in the profundities of the ocean, the saltiness level is extraordinarily low, as are both the temperature and light levels. That implies that a portion of the life forms that would typically take care of a wood-constructed vessel basically are absent. The city's set of experiences goes right back to the 800 years, and in the years after its establishing, it turned into a significant oceanic exchanging focus. As horns exchange all over the planet developed, there was a pressing requirement for strong vessels that could convey cargoes far across the seas. Planned and worked by gifted Dutch boat privileges, these dealerships were ideal for the remote ocean journeys that implied Holland fundamentally governed the waves in the 17th 100 years. The most progressive part of the flight's configuration was that it was a solitary reason vessel worked for business alone. These vessels conveyed combat hardware as well as cargoes, yet this really put them in a difficult spot when it came to exchanging. A large part of the extra room of these double reason ships was taken up with cannon powder and shot, and afterward there must be spaces for the mariners expected to man the weapons and battle a foe during boardings, whether an assault or safeguard. However, the flights focused on a single mission exchange. The flight would convey a few light weapons to battle robbery, yet the immense majority of the boat was surrendered to space for freight, and the actual state of the boats was intended to boost capacity limit. This swelling shape underneath a diminished deck enjoyed another benefit, that the sly boat manufacturers who were in had almost certainly spotted rival countries. For example, the Danes charged tolls on Dutch delivery that went through their waters. That element implied team numbers could be kept to a base, permitting more space for freight. As per an article by student of history Joe Wheatley distributed on the Commander Cook Society site, and recently sent off flight could recover her development costs in just 2 exchanging trips. One more part of the method of flight was unrefined was special in the 1700 years, the whole supplement of mariners from the cook to the skipper, all common similar living space on board one of these vessels. They knock together and feast together. Albeit the flight was not the most fast of boats, the way that it could work with as not many as 35 crew members implied that it was ideal as business vessel, and its benefit over rival dealerships worked by different countries was significant. Composing on the Sea Coordinated Operations Proficient site in 2013, Dennis Bryant uncovered the size of that predominance. Bryant stated they could convey 2 times the freight of their partners at a portion of the expense. What's more, these flights were not simply restricted to the waters of the Baltic Ocean moderately close by for Dutch mariners. Their fundamental adversaries were the English, yet for reasons unknown for a long time, they couldn't fabricate vessels which could contend on equivalent conditions with the Dutch flights. So that is the narrative of the vessel that those Finnish jumpers found in 2020 when they were really searching for depressed vessels from universal conflict side, and to spec yet exactly who were these submerged pioneers with an interest for memorable wrecks, ventured forward the worker jumpers of a not-for-benefit bunch called the Bamboo, and the Finnish word bamboo, and deciphers his bath. As a matter of fact, it comes from the term that was utilized to depict the stretch of water they investigated in the Bay of Finland during the Second Great War, the Bambooan. They've been investigating these chilly northern waters for over 20 years. The waters in which bamboo and volunteers jump had seen a phenomenal measure of frequently brutal activity. Yet positively the most violent time of the Bay of Finland came in the 20th 100 years, with wild maritime commitment to both universal conflicts. Barren wilderness site calls the inlet of Finland a submerged time case, and the amazing revelations they've made throughout the years surely legitimize that portrayal. The site brings up because of our work we have a lot of top-notch material accessible from different ventures, going from 17th century cruising boats to wonders of the worker jumpers' first critical find came in 2004 when they found a destroyed 18th century boat of unsure beginning. The boat lay at the profundity of around 200 feet and, like the 17th century flight found in 2020, was very much saved. The other captivating wrecks found and overviewed by the Bamboo and jumpers incorporate the Palapa, a majestic Russian naval force cruiser, tracked down in 2012, sunk by the Germans in 1914. She was the principal Russian vessel to be lost to foe activity in the Second Great War. In excess of 600 group individuals kicked the bucket when she sank underneath the waves. A whole new the Second Great War setback found by the Terrible Who in group was the magnificent German naval force submarine SMU-26. Inconceivably, she was the very boat that had sunk the Palapa Baku, and jumpers found the sub 2 or 3 years after they tracked down its Russian casualty, with some fitting retribution in 26. Was sunk by a Psyche laid by the Russians in the Bay of Finland. So these valiant worker jumpers of Baku, and have made a real commitment to information about the oceanic history of the inlet of Finland, and their most recent find of an unblemished 17th century flight is seemingly their most interesting disclosure to date. However, for what reason are the waters of the Bay of Finland such a productive hunting ground for wrecks? Also, besides, the inlet of Finland and the more extensive Baltic Ocean has been the location of numerous serious maritime engagements and fights. The way that such countless nations neglect the Baltic is presumably the easiest clarification with respect to why it has been such a hive of maritime movement, both military and business, throughout the long term. Furthermore, as referenced prior, it was in the Bay of Finland that the Bamboo group found that 17th century trip underneath 280 feet of water. Yet why was it a particularly astounding find? All things considered, we've laid out that the Baltic is totally filled with wrecks. However, the truth of the matter is that this flight stands apart as a result of its exceptional degree of safeguarding. The Bamboo jumpers shot a few film around the flight, and it is staggering. As the jumper with the camera circles the disaster area, the degree of detail still noticeable on this 400-year-old wreck challenges conviction that a wooden boat is made do in such an immaculate condition is shocking. The Bamboo film shows wood rails encrusted with submerged vegetation, yet at the same time holding their unique shapes. The flight's fixing lies spread around the disaster area on the seabed. The jumper is established on the seabed by the destroyed flight. Yet the conspicuous inquiry is the reason has this wooden boat, which has lain at the lower part of the ocean for a long time, not just decayed away. We referenced before that the waters where the 17th century flight lives have a few extremely particular and uncommon qualities. Not at all like most oceans and seas all over the planet, the water is at the lower part of the Bay of Finland have an extremely low salt level. This climate on the Baltic Ocean bed is very horrible to the creatures which would typically obliterate a wood wreck. These critters, which are little shellfishes, are chiefly answerable for the obliteration of wooden boats in warm or mild waters. It's not just these smidgen of mollusks, otherwise called heap worms, that cause harm, it's likewise their hatchlings. The creatures lay their eggs on wood drenched in water. When these trapdoor the boatworm hatchlings alongside the full-grown creatures crunch away at the wooden nook, in a moderately brief time frame consume a great deal. As a matter of fact, these minuscule mollusks are a threat to vessels drifting on a superficial level, as well as to wrecks, and furthermore may harm wooden harbor structures. The incredibly harming normal boatworm teredo authors is extremely predominant along the shorelines of the Baltic Ocean. These creatures have just a minuscule shell, yet from this projects a cylinder, which can develop up to 18 inches. Yet notwithstanding their overflow around the edges of the Baltic, the boatworms can't make do in the circumstances that exist in the ocean's more profound waters. The outcome is that even lumber wrecks that have been committed to the profundities for a really long time can endure essentially unblemished. He was in no question about the significance of this revelation. Erickson said the disaster area uncovers large numbers of the qualities of the flight, yet in addition, a few one-of-a-kind elements, not least the development of the harsh. The disaster area consequently offers an extraordinary chance to explore the improvement of a boat type that cruised all around the world and turned into the instrument that established the groundwork for early present-day globalization. So, as indicated by Erickson, the contemporary worldwide business framework that we so frequently consider being a completely present-day peculiarity can follow its underlying foundations back to 17th century sea exchange. Today, gigantic compartment ships utilize the shipping lanes of the world, yet we can see these 80-foot lumber trips as their 17th century ancestors. Thanks for watching. If you want to stay updated with our latest videos, Subscribing is the way to go. Just click that red button below and become a part of our channel family.